Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to register and join with us with Australian Migration Consultants.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am Right. So to begin with, let me show you a small clip of who we are and what we do. All right, so have a look.
Are you looking at Australian migration? We are a Melbourne-based organization taking Australia to the hearts of many people living around the world.
Migrate to Australia with our expert help. We know what it takes to secure your Australian residency. By choosing us, it will allow you to live and work in Australia. What a lifetime opportunity. We make the process simple and easy. We provide additional services such as rental, real estate, finding a job or anything else you may require. We take care of it all for you. With our personalised service, we eliminate stress and worries you may have. Looking forward to seeing you in Melbourne.
We are many faces, but one country. This is Australia.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed the little video that we just shared. So without taking much time, let me brief you on today's lineup. Today, we have a detailed session on skill migration by a registered MARA consultant. Then we have a detailed session again on the assessing bodies by the head of migration at AMC. Next in line, we do have a Pearson test of English presentation by a certified PTE coach, and then followed by a Q&A session. So I hope today's session will help you gather a lot of important information on Australian migration in terms of skilled visas. So moving forward, let me hand over the session to the registered MARA consultant and the Managing Director of Australian Migration Consultants, Mr. Manjula Kulatunga, to take you through a detailed session on skill migration to Australia. Over to you, Manjula.
Thank you. Hi all. Thank you very much, Anya, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone who's joining us from around the world, I would say. There are a lot of candidates joining us today from various parts of the world. And idea here today for me to educate all of you all on the giving some information which you can't find on the web. Yeah. So a brief introduction to Australian migration today is starting with the most important question in everyone's mind: when Australia is going to open the borders, right? Because that's the news that's going around. So Australia has taken the COVID measures very hardly, and they have decided to keep their borders very tightly. And the program has been in place. The border closure is now coming into about 1.5 years, closing up to 2 years. But from the recent the announcements from the government, from the parliament, I would say, they are showing a lot of indications that they're looking at opening the borders back, maybe probably early next year or by the end of this year, right? So let's hope and pray that will happen, right? Now I have got that out of the way. Let's get into understand what is the Australian migration is all about. My presentation is going to be more technical because I'm not going to tell you much of the information that you can find from the websites, or that you can jump onto Google and find it, right? So let's get into the subject matter straight away. When you want to migrate to Australia, there are so many visa options that are available for someone to migrate to or to come to Australia, right? Because even in this the crisis situation or during this pandemic, Australia still has even for this financial year, they have opened up for skilled migrants to come into the country. They have introduced a priority list. Those individuals that have the skill set to fit into one of those occupations can come through this priority list, and I will definitely take you through the priority list as well. That is if you are coming under the skill occupation. Now, when we are looking at the visa options, visitor visas are also an option to come into Australia. So if you have relatives, you can come into Australia to visit them, or because I'm educating you on these visa options. One day you might get the permanent residency and come to Australia. When you go through the application process, the questions that you might have or your family members might have, okay, can I come and visit you? What's the situation there? So if you have a family member who is having a permanent residency, or once you obtain your permanent residency, of course, the virtue of the fact that you have a family member in Australia, they can invite you to come to Australia. So there are a few ways that you can do it, because there are certain visas where the applicant is not strong enough. So in other words, if you can't show that you have genuine intent to come into Australia, and then you have reasons beyond doubt for you to return back to your home country, meaning you have the very secure job, or you are financially stable, or you have your family ties back home. Now, in situations like that, when the department decides, now look here, we don't think when he comes here, once he see the lifestyle, he might not return back, there are chances of getting your visa refused. And those are the times that where the family member can step in, and they can be a guarantor and get the visitor visa happening. So they will make a financial guarantee or a personal guarantor that you will come and attend to the event that you intend to come into Australia and to return back. And then going back to, there are visa kinds of working and holiday visas. Now these visas now at the moment is going to get very spiced up, because there will be agriculture the kind of visas also coming up, and these visas mainly apply to the very stable economies, or I would say the developed countries, right? And the people who are holding and the people who are in the islanders, the South Pacific Islanders, those are the countries in and around Australia, and they are the ones who can come into Australia under these work and holiday visa categories. Then you have various transit visas where, like if you are a seaman or you are working in the airline industry, that you can come in through transit, or if you are traveling through Australia to get to New Zealand, to Fiji, or any other country, that's what the transit visa is all about. Then you have family and partner visas. This is, say, once you get your visa and come into Australia, or if you have a family member who's already here, or you have a partner, a girlfriend, boyfriend, or a husband or a wife, then you can bring your partner to this country, right, as under a marriage visa, or or as a prospective marriage visa, right? And if you have parents, if once you settled in Australia, you can bring your parents. Parents can come in through various options. There are parenting visas, there are age parents visas, there are contributory parenting visas, where you can expedite the process. So it depends on your parents' circumstances. You can decide on which visa category that you can bring them on. Then once you settle here, supposing you want to adopt a child, you can certainly do that as well. So those visas also available. If a family would want to adopt a child, and then they can go through and satisfy certain pre-request criteria, and then go through the legal documentation that needs to satisfy the criteria, then you can bring the child to give the best life or the opportunity that you can offer to them. Then one of the other most popular visa category that is coming to Australia is a student and training visas. So any student who's coming into Australia will get a visa. So these visas have certain conditions. So you got to be very the mindful of your visa conditions, because if you breach any of your visa conditions while you are in Australia, that will have very adverse effects when you try to convert your visa either to get extension or to go into a permanent residency kind of visas. Because once you have a black mark, it's very difficult to work with it, right? And then you have, when you are coming as a student, there are opportunities for you to bring your family along with you as well. So the student partner visas. So if you have children, your children and the partner also come along with you while you complete your studies. As an example, if you are coming to complete any studies in the master's level, your partner will get full-time working rights as well. And your children can attend to a local government school at a very nominal fee, while you are maintaining your foreign student obligations. So as a foreign student, you can only work for 20 hours a week, and then you have to be a full-time student, attending to your classes, make sure that you get through your exams, and there are certain other conditions that you need to satisfy. Yeah. And then you have training visas as well. There are certain organizations that can offer a training visa. So this is mainly that if they want to upskill a person, is say that they have another affiliation offshore, and then they want to bring the person to give that skill set. Of course, there are training visas that they can bring in and give them to understand the certain job roles and functions. Then the working and the skill visa categories. So these are the most what do you call that? If you take any financial year, the number of visas that are open up for the outsiders to come into Australia. So this is the most popular category. We call it the independent general skill visa stream. So under this visa stream, people can come in into the country mainly as permanent residents, or the territory sponsored, state sponsored residents, or as temporary residents. So mainly there are three visa categories that are available under this. So depends on your points that you are going to acquire, because the work and holiday, working and skill visa category, especially the skill visa category, is points tested. So you have to achieve a minimum of 65 points in the points scorecard. And I will take you through the points scorecard in a way, so all of you all can do a self-assessment as well. So if you don't have a pen and paper handy, it's a good time to quickly go and get a pen and paper so you can do a skill assessment. And that is the start of this process if you are applying under a skill migrant. And I believe most of the participants today are from the skill migration or skill migrant background. So I'm going to do a self-assessment. So because the good thing with Australian migration, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very black and white thing. Either you qualify or you don't qualify. There are no ifs and buts. If you don't qualify, then if you can't get the points, or your skill is not on the list, or you're not getting the relevant sponsorships, so that you're not going to make it. So you can predetermine and understand what are my the options when I'm applying for the skill migration the visa, right? And anyone can make themselves eligible. It's just a matter of little bit of hard work, trying to understand what the system is, and then working yourself through that, right? And then employer sponsored is another category. So you maybe have an employer, or maybe your current organization has the office or a branch operation in Australia, who may be interested in deploying you into Australia. So if in that place, your first option is to first go and get your job secured with the organization. So then the organization will have to get themselves approved to be able to sponsor a person from overseas. So mainly they go to advertise the job for minimum of 30 days, and there are certain other the areas where they have to advertise the vacancy to see whether they can get that skill locally. So if they fail to bring that skill locally, Australian government has given them the option to bring the skilled worker from out of the country, right? So there is a bit of the process to follow, but it is possible as long as your skill is on a list of occupations that are allowed to bring into Australia as a employee sponsored scheme. Yeah. Then there's another category called graduate visas, right? So these are excellent ones. Now, if you are a Australian graduate, so if you have completed minimum of 2 years of study in Australia, after completing the first 2 years, Australian government is making you eligible to apply for a postgraduate visa, we call it, right? So with that, they give you about 18 months of working visa, where during that time you can find a job, get your work experience, and maybe be eligible to apply for a permanent residency or a temporary residency visa program. So there is pathway that they have encouraged for people who are completing their studies to stay on and become successful, the citizens of Australia. And then there are independent and regional. So if your occupation is on a list, and on a list where a family member can give you a sponsorship, right? Not every skill set can be sponsored by a family member, but certain skills can be sponsored by a family member, but the family member have to live in an area that's been classified as regional. So that is not in the certain identified postcodes, we call it here. And so if they live in that particular area and your skill set is on the list, so you can definitely come through that program as well. So we'll discuss a little bit into detail of the general skill migration program once we get to the next few slides. So very quickly, I'll take you through the business visas as well. If you're an individual who has, so maybe there are certain professionals who are already here, but they are the owners of the businesses, so the proprietors may be qualified to come under Australia and to expand their businesses here and start up a venture. To anyone to be qualified under business migration, they got to be below 55 years of age and got to have a minimum of total net worth. So that is their personal net worth plus the business net worth with the husband and the wife together, and have to be a minimum of $1.25 million worth of a total net worth, and they should be able to show that they have had a very successful career as an entrepreneur or the organizational the owner, or if you are a public quoted business, you only need to be holding about 10% of the total the ownership, and then you can prove your managerial skills or your entrepreneurial skills to be eligible to become a business migrant. So anyone who is in that category and have some need to know more information, please get in touch with us, because we have a fantastic track record and a very expert team behind us to do employee the sponsored visas, and especially the business migration visas. All right, let's move on. I hope everyone's getting some sort of information here. I'll leave this slide open for a minute, right, and give you all a few minutes to get an understanding of this. Please read it, because I'm not interested in reading this entire list of occupations. So these are the occupations that the Australian government has currently given priority. Right. Now, this priority is only relevant to the visa grants in today's context, right? In today, when they are allocating visas, when they are issuing visas, they will give priority to these occupations in their the numbers that's been allocated and how the processing. So this will change in in time to time, depends on the requirement. As you can see here, there are so much of opportunity is given for medical professionals, and then the senior managers, into construction industry, IT industry, and medical professionals, so on and so forth. So it represents a very fairly decent mix of various occupations that are needed and have demand during this COVID environment, right? Because whatever Australia does, Australia thinks, I mean, how they treat Australian migration is like a tap. What they're saying is we have so many taps, and because they are so lucky, they have the option of choosing who they let into the country, right? So it depends on which visa, which industry has the demand, they will increase the flow of them and then decrease the flow of the other. So your skill set might not be on the priority migration, but there are other that they are not going to fill their entire bucket with the priority migration skills as well. So don't get disheartened because any occupation that that is on the list will eventually get into it, because you will get state sponsorships or various other ways to get your application into the process. But if you happen to be on the skill occupation list, then you are in the lucky bucket at the moment. Yeah, right. Now, moving on to the next slide, we are going to do a quick points calculation, right? So when we are going to do a points calculation, I'm going to take you all through to my next slide. I hope all of you all can see this, right? Can you see this? Can I show of hands or anything? Can anyone? All right. Excellent. Lovely. All right, guys, this is the points calculator, right? So it's a good time for everyone to get a pen and paper, and then they can do their own calculations and see whether how many points they are going to end up with in this calculation, right? Now, when you are applying for the skill migration category, as I explained to you, there are three main visa categories. One is called Subclass 189. So it's called the skill independent visa. What are the features of this visa? This visa will give you a 5-year permanent residency to Australia. You and your loved ones, so that is you, your partner and the children, are allowed to come into Australia and live in any place that you like. So if you have any friends or family, and it doesn't matter where they are, as long as you have the subclass 189 visa, you can go and start living. When you continue to live in Australia for about minimum of 4 years, you'll be eligible to apply for the citizenship as well, right? And so that is the beauty of the 189. So this is the best visa that anyone could apply for, right? But what you need to understand, the better the visa category, the higher the demand as well, right? So the good thing is in Australia, it's not capped that we get only X number of people from this country or that country. So they have not given an allocation to which country that they are sorting any people after. So everyone has a level playing field ground. As long as you can prove your education qualifications and the work experience satisfy the criteria that Australia is looking for, you have a very good chance, as good as anyone else, right? Okay, so that's a 5-year visa where you can go and live in anywhere. Then there's another visa called subclass 190. So skill nominated visa subclass. So this subclass, what happens is, now this is the shape of Australia, as all of you all know, right? So Australia has different states. So you have Victoria here, and then you have Australian Capital Territory. If you talk about Victoria, I mean, you know, the capital of Victoria is called Melbourne, right? Most sought after, or the one of the world's most livable cities, right? And then you have the ACT, which is Canberra. That's where you have all the foreign missions or the Australian Parliament, and dignitaries live in that particular suburb. Then you go to New South Wales, where the city is called Sydney, and that is the pretty much the financial capital of Australia, right? And then you go to the next biggest state here, which is called Queensland, and the the main city is called Brisbane, and you have the world's best beaches there. It's called Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. We call it the party capital of Australia because that's where they have all the Disney World to movie world, everything, all the kids playground. Because I mean, any day of the year, it's a very tropical weather there, right? And then so there's a lot of tourist attractions even within Australia. A lot of people go to the Queensland for that relaxed atmosphere. And then you have here the Darwin, we call it the Northern Territory, right? So this is the most closest place to any other country from Australia. I mean, other than, we're not talking about New Zealand or the Papua New Guinea or Fiji that you find on this side of the continent, but to connection to Asia. So the closest is Indonesia or Singapore, and the closest. So when we fly into Australia, usually we'll say we are coming from Singapore, right? We fly about good 3.5 hours to come into the tip of the Darwin, and then it takes us another 4 hours from Darwin to Melbourne flight, right? So that's how the 7.5 flight goes, right? So we fly internally more than we fly across the sea, right? So then you move into the biggest state and the richest state of Australia. It's called the Western Australia, where the city is called Perth. Right. This is where you find all the gold mines and various other, the mining is taking place in Perth, right? And then you're coming into this lovely section, which is called the wine country of Australia. We call it South Australia. The city is called Adelaide, where you have acres and acres of the cultivations, farming, and wineries. Beautiful place. And so each of these places are actually like a different country, right? Within a country, because they all manage separately. And then you have this tiny island. It's called the Tasmania, and it is like half of the size of so I think it is a very tiny island, but that also managed separately, which we call we call it the Tasmania. So all these Cadbury chocolates that you are getting, and they all manufactured in Tasmania, right? And so what happens here, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at each of them, have their different ways of managing their states. So they drive different skill set, the people with different skills, because each state has different industries that are driving that state, right? So because of that, they have their own requirements of occupations. So they all have allocation. So they will issue a list of occupations that are needed for their state. So that's why it's called a state-sponsored visa. So when you receive a subclass 190 visa, you get to live anywhere else you want. But what happens within the 5 years that's given to you for your first visa grant, from the visa grant, you got to serve 2 years in the state that has given you the sponsorship. Why have they given you the sponsorship? Because they think your work experience and the qualifications can contribute to the state from the time you landed, because they have immediate need for those job vacancies which they want to fill in. So I always encourage my clients to please, if you have obligation, first go and serve the obligation in that state, right? And then you decide to move out to anywhere that you want to do, or like you might like the place, right? Right. And so the difference between the subclass 189 or a 190, ladies and gentlemen, is just the 189, you have no obligations to where to go and settle yourself. In 190, you have obligation to go to the state. They both get the 5-year visa for the entire family from the time you landed. You may be eligible for, your free medical, and then you are eligible for free education, and then the working rights as well, right? And there are so many other facilities that each of these states offer to make your life comfortable in Australia. So I'm not going to go into detail because probably you know that, but otherwise that information is available on the net. Just Google it, you can find it. So the next visa category, which is the newest visa category that's been introduced to this segment, is called Subclass 491. Subclass 491 is a temporary visa, right? So with the temporary visa, what happens now? You must be wondering, okay, this one is also a 5-year visa, right? You still get to bring your family along with you here. Your children still get to enjoy the free education in government schools, and then you have the full working rights as well. The only difference is when you are on a subclass 491, you will have to still maintain your medical insurance until you get the permanent residency. So when you come here on a subclass 491, which is a temporary visa, you will have to first serve 3 years in the state and the territory that you have been offered the visa program to. So you come first, live and work in that state for about 3 years, then you can convert that visa into a permanent residency, right? So then someone must be wondering, okay, why should I not apply for 189? Why should I apply for 190 or 491, which has different restrictions and less support? And when I have the option to apply for 189, now this is where the thing comes, the beggars cannot be choosers, right? Because we need the points. So points are given very handsomely at the 491 level, where the government is giving you more points to be able to qualify, to put your application through, and then stand in front of the line to get the application and come into the country, prove yourself and get the visa. Yeah, so let's look at the program, and then you will get a understanding slowly. So if you go for a skill migration 189 visa, you are not getting any points from the government. But if you choose to go for a subclass 190 and then you apply for a state sponsorship, the government will offer you 5 points, right? But if you, instead of the 190, you choose, okay, I'm going to go for a 491 visa, then you will get 15 points. Instead of 5 points, you will now get 15 points, right? And then they are giving you points for the age category as well. If you are between 18 to 24, you can please score yourself. I hope everyone has now have a sort of a pen and a paper in their hands, right? So you can do a self-assessment to see how many points you are going to get. So the first hurdle is to see whether your occupation is on the list, not only on the priority list, the skill migration, the occupation list. So there are the long-term list and short-term list, and we will share all that information down the line as well. And that information is freely available from the department website. I encourage all of you all, always, if you want to get current information, please refer to the Australian government department website, because even if you take our personal website, we don't have 24/7 staff sit behind the website to upgrade the legislation. As soon as the legislation upgrades, we don't have people to run to the website and update it for you. That's why our information is very general. But when we talk to a client and sit with you and analyze, we will go to the legislation and give you the current and most available information. So for you also, as a habit, always go to the department websites to get information. Otherwise, you'll get lost, because everyone interprets law in a different way, or they present it in a different way. So it's in your best interest to always refer it back to the department and make sure that you get the right information, right? And if you're between 18 to 24, score yourself 25 points. If you're between 25 to 32, 30 points. So older you are, higher the points you get, because what they're saying is, by the time you get to 25 and to 32, this is the prime of a person. You have obtained your education qualifications, you have got your work experience, and you are ready to hit the ground and start running. So at that time, they'll give you the highest number of points for age factor. Then for the time between 33 to 39, they still welcome you with open arms, because you get the same points as someone who's 18 to 24. You still get the 25 points. Then once you cross over to 40, what will happen is your points goes down to 15. Now, please remember, if you are marking yourself points for your age factor, always give some leeway, because what happens is, say that if you are turning 40 in we'll say in January, right? So we'll pick a date, right? So in January, if you are turning 40, so at the moment you can score yourself 25 points, right? But you need to know that, okay, will I be able to lodge my application in time to complete the visa program before I turn the age over, right? Because your skill assessment depends on the various skill the assessing bodies some skill assessments bodies have priority skill assessing options where you can get your skill assessment done within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. But some of them, it can go up to 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or even more, right? So first need to understand what is my occupation, all right, how long that assessment is going to come, and my prerequisite to satisfy. Then only you have to look at your the age factor. So you can be very generous in terms of doing your calculations. So but I always tell my clients, if you don't even have 3 months, right, the minimum of to look at your age factor, always score yourself lower in the other bracket, right? So there are no surprises. If you manage to get it before that, that's fine. Because what happens is when you lodge your application, until the visa application has different processes, right? So there are 3 areas that you need to satisfy before you get an invitation to apply. In Australia, you can't just be, with the virtue of the fact that you have the right points and you are qualified, you can't lodge an application into the system, right? You have to first do an expression of interest. Before you lodge an expression of interest, you have to have your skills assessment completed, your language skills already tested, and then only you can lodge your application for an expression of interest. So once you lodge your application to expression interest, is like a bucket that goes in, right? And then depends on which visa that you apply for, which state that you went for, and all those things matters in terms of getting an invitation from the government. So until you get your invitation, and then you lodge your application and pay your visa fee, and the department accepts your application as a valid application, your age is traveling. But the moment the department accepts your application and you paid your visa fee, your age stops there, because it's at the time of application criteria that applies. Yeah. So I'm just giving this information for you to be very mindful, because but if you are qualified today, don't waste time. Just go ahead and do it, because what is available today might not be available tomorrow, because time travels, right? Okay, let's go back and see what other areas that we can score points in the system. So if you have no the qualifications, you are not going to get any points, and I can't see any skill occupation that you can apply in today's context to gain the relevant points to be able to eligible, right? So it's very important that you find that your occupation has the right the requirement of work experience and the skill set or the educational qualifications to back it up, right? Minimum of a 2-year diploma or a trade qualification. There are certain occupations where you don't need any qualifications. As example, if you're a sales manager or you're a general manager, that you have been in that capacity for so many years and have led very large organizations, you can still get a positive skill assessment. Or you may be coming from the IT background, you can still, you may not be having any the qualifications, but for the virtue of the fact that you have your work experience, can back it up and get a positive skill assessment, which there are pathways called recognition of prior learning, RPL pathways to get that. So if you have a 2-year diploma or a positive skill assessment, you get 10 points. If you have a bachelor's degree, which is more than the minimum of 3 years of study, you get 15 points. If you have a doctorate or a PhD, you can get 20 points. Now, the very interesting criteria is there are a lot of people who have a master's, but without a bachelor's degree, right? Just MBA without a bachelor's degree, you fall into this category. So you also still get 10 points. Now, there's another thing that I would like to point out here. There are some situations where your work experience and what is not tallying with the qualification that you have, right? As example, you have been a, we'll say you have been a marketing manager in an organization for so many years of experience, but your bachelor's qualification may be in languages, right? So, but it's not directly related. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the bachelor's qualification, you can still claim the 15 points, right? For your skill assessment, you might need only the 2-year diploma that you may be using to get the skill assessment. But the virtue of the fact that you have a bachelor's that is non-related to your occupation, you can still claim your 15 points and get the highest number of points coming towards your points total. I hope that's clear, right? Now, if you are a person, the other good thing, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to understand, when you are applying for general skill migration into Australia, whether you are applying from overseas or you are applying as a local student, there's no difference, right? Or if you are in the country. The only difference is the virtue of the fact that if you are in the country, there are more opportunities to increase your point score, right? So as example, if you have completed 2 years of study in Australia, you get only 5 points more. So there are students who have completed their studies in your native country or back home. You are only losing out on 5 points. That's the difference. You know, most of the time I encourage the certain parents who are trying to send their kids to Australia by selling their all the assets that they have, and then they think, okay, miracle will happen and they can make a life out of it, right? But that is not what it is, right? Australia is looking for able people who have the right skill set, who have the right educational qualification to come into the country. A same person who can complete their studies back home as a child with the parents and then get the right skill set and the experience can apply for the Australian migration as much as they would do in Australia and completing the studies, because it's the same point score, right? So then coming into regional study, if you have completed your study as a student in Australia and in a region, so not in there are certain areas that have been classed as regional, and there are universities. If you go to a rural university, you still get another 5 points as well, right? And then supposing we'll say, okay, we haven't studied in Australia, so that doesn't matter, that count, because most of the audience who are in this the Zoom event today are not living in Australia. This is an offshore program, right? So let's say no points for that, right? Then the next one is the work experience. So the work experience is if you have more than 3 years of work experience. If you have less than 3 years of work experience, you are not going to get any points. Minimum of 3 years, the work experience is required post-study, not during study. It has to be post-study. Once you complete your studies, then 3 years of work experience. Otherwise, like if you don't have any qualifications and then going for the skill assessment, first few years are taken off by the skill assessment authority as for the post study period, right? So if you, one more thing that you need to understand, right? Even having worked for 3 years, after completing your studies, you are going to get only 5 points, right? But if you have 12 months of work experience in an occupation, you are eligible to apply for the migration program. So you may be a recent graduate. You have only 12 months of work experience. That doesn't mean you have to wait for another 2 years to get these 5 points to apply. As long as your point score is there, the minimum threshold and the required points, you are eligible to apply for Australian migration, right? But if you have 3 years, you get 5 points. If you have 5 years, you get 10 points. If you have 8 years, you get 15 points. Now, if you have been in Australia and have your work experience in Australia as well, what happens is for 1 year's work experience, you get 5 points. 3 years work experience, you get 10 points. 5 years work experience, you get 15 points. 8 years of work experience, you get 20 points. So at the moment, we have no Australian work experience, so we call it a 0. Yeah. Then going back to your language skill, this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Our required point score is actually 65 points. That is the base, right? Out of that, English takes a very what do you call very important, the point score, because if you have English as example for PTE or IELTS, if you have only for PTE, if you score only 50 points, or for IELTS, if you score only 60 points, you are still eligible to apply for as long as your skill assessment authority is not demanding your language skills. If you have without any points, but if you can score 65 points for PTE or 7 points for IELTS, you can claim 10 points. If you can score 79 points for PTE or 8 points for your IELTS, you can score 20 points. So when you are chasing the 65 points, 20 points make a big difference when it comes from languages. You can see your points already gone up to 80 here, right? So that gives you the importance of the language skills. Now, we have a separate session to introduce the language, the skill program. So I'm not going to talk about it. So I'll let that session take you through how to score the maximum points and what we support that we can get you to achieve that. So what I can tell you is, please take some classes before you go for this exam. Don't think that the virtue of the fact that I have studied in English and I have done all my exams in all my life and I'm working in this language, that is not what it is. This says, in my opinion, there is an art to sit for this exam, right? So you need to take a couple of classes at least to get through it at once with flying colors, right? Because it makes a big difference to your application program. All right. Then another interesting factor here, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is, if you are a person who is married, right? And if your partner also equally qualified, so if your partner also below 45 of age, so and then he or she also have occupation that can that is on the list, and then he or she also can get through IELTS more than 6, right? They get additional 10 points. On the other hand, you may be you are single, right? And you have no partners, you still get 10 points. So they're encouraging either singles to come into the country or come with partners equally qualified. But if you are married and your partner can bring only English to the table, maybe your partner is overage, or your partner has no education qualifications, or your partner is a house husband or a housewife, so they are not depriving them as well. But as long as they also can get 6 points and above for English, I think 5.5 for an English, they also can contribute 5 points, right? But if your partner can't get that points, then what happens is you are not going to get any points, but the entire family is eligible to apply. So your point score has not changed, because we are saying for the time being, okay, no points, right? Okay, so and then if you have completed your preliminary studies, so that is your bachelor's qualification in your native language, you can claim another 5 points for your bilinguality, right? If not, there is an exam called NATI, which you can sit and either translate from English to your native language or native language to English. You will get 5 points in this program, right? And this information is also available on the web, how to sit for the exam, how to register, and how to get yourself more points into the application process, right? And then for students who have completed their studies in Australia, they get the opportunity to come and do a professional year. Now, this is not limited to students who have studied in Australia only. There can be students who have completed their engineering degrees back home, and within a given period of time, if you have completed their the relevant qualification, they can come here to do their the professional year. So then they can claim 5 more points as well. We'll say no to that as well, and we'll say no to NALTI, right? So you can still get your point score here, right? But now that you have 80 points, way above the threshold of 65, that is because we got the subclass 491 visa category. We can go for subclass 190. So the moment you go for 190, you go down to 70 points, right? Because once you go to the 190, you are not getting points for your partner skills, and the state is only giving you only 5 points. All right. So those are the small technicalities in the points score, and we are calculating that. So it is very important that we get a full understanding of the point system and deciding on which occupation that we are selecting when we are embarking on the migration journey. So the next stage is to get a very quick understanding of what is this migration process. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to understand, Australian migration is a long-term investment. This is not a short-term investment. Don't think that you can decide on, okay, right, I'm going to migrate, and then tomorrow morning you can start the application process and get it done within 3 months. That's not how it's going to work, unfortunately, because there are certain stages that we have to go through to be able to complete the application process. As of today, any general skill migrant, unless you are in the priority list, even with you being on the priority list, it'll take minimum 12 to 24 months, right? So it's a long-term investment. So don't decide to break up with your affairs or sell your properties or get out of your job. Let this process take its time. Let your life go along, but then keep your eyes on the prize. So if you have decided to apply for the migration program, let it run on the side, right? But don't make it affect to anything what you are doing on your day-to-day lifestyle. Yeah. Okay, the first thing, if you are looking at applying for the migration, first thing you have to do is, okay, is my occupation is on the list? Do I have the right skill set? Do I have the right qualifications that are needed to get a positive skill assessment? What is the occupation I am going to apply for? Which occupation is going to give me the highest number of points? Because over a period of time, you start with a trainee and go on to various positions, managerial positions, and then you go look back and see, okay, which occupation can give me the highest number of points, and which occupation has the highest demand, and then which state has more opportunities. And so you need to work yourself backward and then select on your occupation, because that is the most important factor. Ultimately, that's going to decide your application process, how long it's going to take, and then the waiting periods, everything comes on that. So you have to first do the most important part, right? And then once you have your positive skill assessment done, then you get your English assessment done as well. So with both of them, we submit a document called, which is online, the document which is called expression of interest. This is where you express to Australia, okay, these are my qualifications, these are the experience I have, and I am willing to apply for ABC visa category, and this is the state I want to go for, or I want to apply for 189, or whichever all your requirements you put in there. Then you have to wait until you are being asked to lodge your application. That is called an invitation. The department will issue an invitation, or they give you an offer to apply. At that point, you should have all your documents ready, because you have only 90 days to lodge your application and pay the visa fee. And then they will do their due diligence to make sure that you have given all the genuine documentations, and you have whatever you claim that you have at the expression of interest have to be substantially support with the supporting documents. So then the visa application is granted. So that is the process. Very simple, but very complicated. We just need to have patience. That's the most key, and then make it happen, right? We have been in the industry for more than 12 years and helped more than 2,500 clients, and we know what they are going through in their mindsets when they start embarking onto the challenge. But the mostly you got to have patience and keep your eyes on the prize to see it through. Yeah. So the next one is, is a very interesting presentation where you need to understand what are the skill assessing bodies and what are they looking for. How am I to be eligible to become get my skills assessed as is relevant to Australia, right? To do that, let me introduce let me hand over the presentation back to Anya to hand it over to very capable Deirdre. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula. So I'd like to hand over the presentation now to Ms. Deirdre Mendes, who's the head of migration at Australian Migration Consultants. Over to you, Deirdre.
Thank you, Anya. Let me share the screen. Right. So I will go through a few of the assessing bodies that we work with so that you will get an idea of how your occupation will be assessed. So if I say like the first stage in the skill migration process is nominating an occupation and then going for your skill assessment. So your skill assessment is where your qualification and your work experience is assessed. Different occupations are assessed by different assessing bodies. And this skill assessment helps to generate points for your employment for the Department of Immigration. As Manjula explained, there is a point system and they assess the points for your employment. So this skill assessments help you to generate that points. And most of the positive assessments are valid for 3 years, if not otherwise defined by the department. And I will just run through a few of the assessing bodies. One is VETASAS, and VETASAS assesses a wide variety of occupations, ranging from managerial occupations to trade occupations. And in VETASAS, your qualifications and your experience are both assessed, and you do not need to show your English language qualification at this stage of the assessment, which is PTE, IELTS or equivalence. And the minimum requirement is your qualification and a minimum of 1 year experience in the relevant field. And if I mention a few of the occupations that are assessed by VETASAS is like chemists, internal auditors, professional, social professionals, university lecturers, corporate service managers, so forth. And there are around 25 trade occupations as well. This includes professionally skilled occupations with proper certifications like electricians, welders, plumbers, cooks, so forth. And VETASAS has a processing time of 12 to 14 weeks. And they have a priority processing time, which is about 10 business working days. And another assessing body is the Australian Computer Society, which this is the designated authority for ICT skilled professionals. And these are like ICT business analyst, ICT support engineers, software engineers, software testers, so forth. And here too, your English language ability is not required at this stage of the assessment. And your qualifications and your experience are assessed through ACS. When assessed through ACS, you will need to ensure that you meet the proper criteria according to the occupation. And according to your qualification, the requirement of your experience will differ. And if you don't hold the required qualification, you can apply on recognition of prior learning as well, which is the RPL. And requirement of minimum 8 years of your relevant work experience is required at this when you apply on RPL. And the processing time is about 8 to 10 weeks. And they don't have a priority system. And this is Engineers Australia is the assessing authority for the engineering occupations. And when your occupation is in the engineering field, you will need to fulfill your English requirement. So if your occupation is in the engineering field, you will need to have your IELTS or your PTE or equivalent prior to the assessment. And you will require 6 in each band if you go for IELTS. And this is for the assessment lay, but you will not get your points with a 6 band score. And then for most of the qualifications, you will need to submit a competency documentation report, which is a CDR report, to get your qualification assessed. And the processing time depends on the load of applications the assessing body has, and they do have a fast track of 20 working days. And few of the occupations in this engineering capacity is like civil engineers, electrical engineers, petroleum engineers, telecommunication network engineers, so forth. And another assessing body that we work with is the Institute of Managers and Leaders. And this is the assessing authority for senior managerial occupations. And these are managers who hold a senior managerial position in the organization, such as chief executives or managing directors, corporate general managers, sales and marketing managers, supply and distributed managers, so forth. When your occupation is in the senior managerial line, you need to fulfill the required criteria according to the level of your occupation. And the requirements differ with each levels, and we will be guiding you to make your documentation ready accordingly. And at this, when your occupation is in the managerial field, you will not need your IELTS at this stage, and the processing time will be about 8 weeks, and they do have a fast track of 4 weeks. And if we go for the accounting field, there are 3 registered assessing bodies that we work with. It's the Institute of Public Accountants, Chartered Practicing Accountants, and Chartered Accountants. And when your occupation is in the accounting field, you will need your IELTS, which is the English language ability. And for this, you will need 7 in each band score. And only your qualification is assessed if you are in the accounting field, and you will have to be qualified in completing 9 out of the 12 core subjects that is given, and a bachelor's or equivalent will be required. And the processing time will be about 10 business working days, and they have a fast track of 2 business working days. And if you hold the CIMA qualification, a pass finalist is not enough. You will have to have the membership as well. And few of the occupations are like accountants, external auditors, management accountants, taxation accountants, so forth. And apart from these assessing bodies, we work with a few others as well, like Managerial, Austrian, Subclass, Untitled Chapter, 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 Managerial, Austrian, Subcla Doctors are assessed by the Medical Board of Australia, and nurses are assessed through Australian Nursery and Midwifery Accreditation Council. And quantity surveyors are assessed by the Australian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. And physiotherapists are assessed by Australian Physiotherapy Council. And well, this, like I hope, like I have given you a briefing in understanding of the different assessing authorities according to your occupations. And these different assessing bodies has their own way of assessing the required documentation and information according to their own process. So it will be our responsibility to make sure that you meet with the required information and documentation that your documentation, like the requirement of your information and the documentation, and that your application is decision ready for a positive assessment. And please feel free to bring out any questions that you have on the chat session, so we can answer any queries that you have. And I would like to hand it over back to Manjula to continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you. Anya, back to you to hand it over to Manjula.
Thank you very much, Deirdre. I hope you got a lot of information through these two sessions. Can I hand it over back to Manjula to continue?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Anya. Thanks, Deirdre, for that informative, the skill assessment understanding to the audience. Right. Now that everyone knows what needs to be done in terms of to be qualified for the migration, how to get their skill assessment, let me take this time to opportunity to introduce the Australian migration team. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our team that you will meet in one point or the other in going through your application program. And this is our process, and this is the most important part. I think that everyone needs to understand how we have been supporting all our clients over the years. We have a very straightforward the program that we practice. That is, all the interested parties, we will first educate them, and this is one way of doing it. That's why we have only invited you all to come for one session to educate you of the migration the program. It is very important for everyone to spend their time before their money in terms of getting into the migration program. You need to understand, because as I said earlier, it's a long-term investment, and there's substantial amount of funds that go into this and effort go into the process as well. So unless you are committed, unless you understand what is your end goal and what are the what you call these, the hurdles that you have to jump through to achieve your ultimate goal of migrating to Australia, it is very important that you be educated. So this is the first step. You have taken the first step. This is excellent. So the next step is for you to see, okay, say that am I actually eligible? Is my thinking is right? Is my eligibility criteria assessment, so did I get my points right? Have I understood which occupation is going to give me the maximum points? So what is the visa that I should be applying for? What is best for my family? And what are my personal circumstances? And what will happen to if I choose this pathway? And what are the pluses? What are the minuses? So for me, right, in terms of as individualized, a customized solution. So this is where we will invite you to now, once you send your CVs, if you are eligible. So what we will do is we do a quick glance of the CV, and from the information you have given with our experience, we can say, okay, you can have some light at the end of the tunnel by looking at the information that you have given on the CV or the limited information that's been given. Sometimes I have had situations where we have started talking to people there are some valuable information that they have not put on the CV, but that is the very thing that's going to open up the migration pathway for them. Or their partner might be able to add more value to the application than what they think it is, right? So in that sense, we go through your CVs and invite you to come for a one-to-one consultation. And we always ask you to please come with your partner if you have anyone, or your parents, or anyone whom you think are the decision makers in the process. Please bring them so we can answer everyone's questions at fine. Right? Otherwise, once you go home, I know you'll get bombarded with the questions with your friends and everyone else. Did you ask this question, that question, on the other? So it's a dedicated time. And I mean, given the new normal conditions, we are having all these consultations through via Zoom meetings, or WhatsApp, or phone. And you can encourage everyone else to jump in as well, so everyone is aware of this, right? I mean, I'll give you a classic example. I mean, there was a time where one of my clients, when they first started, they said they had some of their friends, or the family members who have visited them during a Christmas, and over dinner, the uncle has said, all right, I'm going to give you the sponsorship. The family sponsorship is fantastic. Don't worry about it. You just tell us what to do, because we want you all coming to Australia, do this, that, and the other, right? So what happened was, this guy was luckily have his occupation on a list where, and the uncle was living in a eligible, the location in Australia where he can offer the sponsorship. And then we choose to put him through the family sponsored pathway. Now, halfway through, like, he has done his skill assessment, chosen the application, lodged the application, and did all that. Then there came, after a few months time, once we were halfway through the application, we had to get a sponsorship endorsement, so, or the acceptance of the sponsorship obligations from the uncle, right? So by then, what has happened was, actually, this is a true story. I'm not making it up, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a fact. So that uncle is actually this applicant's mother's sister's husband, right? So by the time it went back to, right, this guy to get the sponsorship signed, that auntie and uncle has broken off, right? And then that guy is not going to sign the document. So his entire program went under the bus, because he was not eligible anymore, because they have gone through a divorce, right? So I mean, that's why it's very important that you put it out there, talk to the people. If they are saying that they want to, like, order a drink, when people come, people give so many obligations, but when the time matters, and when it comes to the where you have to put the pedal to the metal, you have to make sure that the people who gave you that encouragement, who said who are going to support you, will still support you. That's what matters, right? So it's very, very important that you ask the questions before you jump into that line. Okay, if I'm giving the obligation, these are the obligations, so you can get them to be part of your decision-making process, so they won't back off, right? Because if they backed out, your age has already gone. Your entire process is already committed. You can't go back and change the landscape, right? But what will happen? You are in a very unfortunate situation. So it's very important that you understand the entire process and get this right. So what we will do is, we will ask you to come for a one-to-one consultation. We will look at your situation and have a, we always say it's like a la carte menu, right? We will cook it the way what matters to you. Then we will issue you a letter of advice. This letter of advice will tell you which visas that you are eligible to apply for, because you may be qualified for more than one visa options. And then what are the pluses and minuses of each of these visa options? If you take these options, what will happen to your family members? How long it will take? How much it will cost? So there are no surprises to you at the end of the program, right? And it's given to you in writing. It's a legal document. It's always done by a registered the migration consultant, and then it's a legal document which you can work with. So that is like a foundation which will have your step 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now it's a matter of executing each step until you get your the visa. So with that, we will give you an agreement as well, where you can appoint us to represent your case. And then we will go through each of the state. With the first one is the assessment. We will get understanding of your skill assessment, tell you what documents are required, how to present the documents in acceptable way to the Australian government. We do not get you to fabricate documents, because if we only handle genuine applicants. You need to understand that Australia spends so much money day in and day out trying to weed out all these people who are trying to fabricate documentations and come in. Even if you're thinking of it, please don't do it. It's not worth it, right? If you don't qualify, we will tell you don't qualify as well, but we will tell you why you are failing. So go back and work yourself again. See where you're falling short. Is it the work experience? It is the education qualification, or it is whatever it is, right? Which you can work, or look for an alternative pathway to come in. But no matter what, whether you got me to handle this application or my practice or anything else, please don't fabricate documents, where that is going to come and bite you. With the Australian government, there are situations where they have gone back, because once the visa is issued, your application will be kept for another 7 years. So on random basis, they go and do various investigations, and if they find that you have done something, the mischievous things to the application, or given the what you call that bogus information, your entire application is going to get cancelled, right? And there's another reason. Your application can get failed only for two reasons. One is where you have given bogus information, and the second is the law has changed, right? And one of your family members have failed the medicals. That's also very important that you stay healthy, right? If one of the family members fail, your entire application fails as well, right? So doesn't matter. It's only one person. All other 5 people have got through the medicals. If one fails, all fails, right? So it's very important that we understand these aspects before we embark on the situation. So then we will go through the state sponsorships, visa grant, until the last minute, until your arrival here. We will hold your hand and make sure it's a very turnkey operation with us, right? And to do that, there's of course now, as you can see, there is a fee for the time that we are spending on you, with you, and there is a consultation fee. That fee will be refunded to you if you choose to appoint us to represent your case. But if you at the consultation, if you don't qualify, we will refund 50% of the consultation fee as well, right? And then moving on to, it doesn't matter whether you choose us or choose any other consultancy practice. I want to leave this thought with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Australian migration is a highly regulated industry in Australia. Only people who are registered with MARA, that's the Migration Registration Authority, or a solicitor, Australian solicitor, can offer you advice. Anyone else who's offering advice, they're not qualified to do so, and it's offense, right? So you can check whether they are eligible. So if you go to the MARA website, right, you can just type into the Google and say Australian Migration Registration Authority. You can type our credentials, just type our business name, or type our my name, anything. You can see the credentials of the practitioners with us, and then that's how it's going to work. At the moment, we are a Melbourne-based organization with offices in Dubai, Qatar, and Sri Lanka. The Qatar office is managed by the Hizam and Samiha, who have been with us for more than 10 years now, and they have helped so many the people from the Gulf to migrate into the Australia. And the Dubai office is in partnership with Bayat Legal Services, who have been a fantastic operator in the Gulf, and we have done many the cases in helping families from the Gulf. And the Sri Lanka office is my home, and we have a very fledged and a capable team who is handling and manning the operation, and mainly headed by the Deirdre and the Anya and Amila. So that's a very strong the team. And the beauty of our team is we have been together for more than 5 years and in averages. So the staff turnover has been very minimal, and we have been very lucky to have this fantastic team with us. And so I look forward to to give you some help to achieve your migration dream. With that, I conclude my presentation. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat forum, or you can write to us or email it to us, and we are more than happy to help you and share the knowledge. And thank you very much. Looking forward to meet all of you all at the time in Australia one day. If you see me on the other side of the road, you can yell me for a coffee. That's all I need. Yeah. All right. Stay safe, guys. Look after yourself. Thank you.
Thank you
Over
very
to
much.
you, Anya.
Thank you, Manjula. I hope our attendees found it very productive, and in order to build your career pathways toward migration, that would have surely helped you. So now another common problem that you may come across in your migration pathways, that's actually the English test. So we have invited Ms. Amila Gunawardana from School of PTE to give you a brief idea of how you can achieve this goal. Over to you, Amila.
Thank you, Anya. And thank you, Australian migration team, for inviting me. Just a minute. All right, I hope you can see the screen. So PTE is a similar globally recognized English exam with just the same as IELTS. It is equally recognized and accepted in universities as well as for migration. So I am a qualified trainer. And let me just take you through this presentation just to give you an idea of what PTE is and IELTS is, right? So if what you all mostly have heard is IELTS here in Sri Lanka, that's because it's marketed and branded here a lot, whereas PTE also is equally recognized. So let me just tell you some of the differences as well as some of the similarities. So to start with the similarities, it has the same thing as IELTS. It grades you on the 4 sections, which is speaking, writing, reading, and listening. In addition to that, they also grade you on the grammar, the oral fluency, the pronunciation, spellings, but that is inbuilt in the exam, right? It's also a totally computer-based exam. So they use artificial intelligence to give you the scoring, which I think is an advantage in a way, whereas in the IELTS, you have to wait to book your exam. You have to book it 2 weeks in advance. And then your speaking test, you have to go in a second child, as in if the exam is broken into 2, whereas in PTE, you sit for the exam in one go and you answer the questions along with your computer, right? So the advantages we'll discuss further on. So just to break down the course outline. So if you take speaking, it has 5 sections. You have a section called read aloud, repeat sentence, and different modules that you have to do. You have to read passages and describe images, or there will be a sentence for you where you need to repeat it as you hear it. So there are 5 sections in that. And in writing, the advantage in writing with PT is it has only 2 sections, which is summarized written text and write essay. Whereas in IELTS, you have comprehension, you have essay writing, you have letter writing, you have many other things. And the content itself is slightly harder in IELTS, whereas this one is slightly structured. Not that the PT exam is easier than IELTS, but the content is lighter, so it's easier to get through. The other thing is that because the computer is looking for specific information and it's given out of artificial intelligence, you can answer to the computer of the answers that it's really looking for. So what I do is I teach you the techniques and the styles of how to answer to this exam. Then you have the reading section, which you have multiple choice questions where you have to read an answer. Then you have sections where you have to reorder a paragraph. So different things where they test your reading in. So even though they say reading, they could be also checking your listening skills, where you have to listen and either you have to listen and speak, or you have to read and write. So fill in the blanks would be something like that, where you have to read it and write it. So it's a cross-functional exam in that sense, right? You also have listening, which has 8 sections. Where you have to listen to certain passages and answer questions. It's fairly straightforward. The listening area is actually a very easy and thing to get about. What you need to understand is listening is a skill. Some of us don't have the ability to do a lot of listening because we tend to give a personal opinion sometimes before we are even asked. So listening is a skill. This can be developed over time. So I give you exercises in terms of how to listen to these questions and answer them. So overall, the module is 20 modules. There are 20 sections like we discussed. And a total time is 3 hours with a 10-minute break in the middle. So same to IELTS. The difference is it's totally computer-based and you need to go to the PT center to do the exam. So if we just look at a comparison in terms of scoring, like Manjula and Deirdre mentioned, in IELTS, if you're looking for a 6, you need to get 50 in PT, 765 and 879, which will give you a full 20 points in overall as well as in each band. So getting this is not difficult, provided you really make an effort and you practice. So it is possible to get it. Like I'll show you a few results that we've got. So these are some of the advantages with PT, because it's computer-based and artificial intelligence gives you the results. You just need to answer to what the computer is really looking for. It's looking for specific things. You can answer it accordingly. The other thing is with PTE, sorry, just a minute. The other thing with PTE is that the results come in maximum 5 days, right? So most of the time, more than 5 days, within 48 hours, you get your results. Whereas in IELTS, you have to wait for 2 weeks to get your results. So for example, if you haven't got the required score in PT, so say you do the exam in the morning, you usually get your results in the evening or the next day. So if you're in a hurry and you haven't got the real required score, maybe you can take a week off from work and really pay some attention and really work on it, and then resit the exam. So the course fees, rather the exam fee is similar to IELTS. The PT is about $165 US. IELTS is also, I think, $160 US. They're fairly similar. So usually how we do it is our sessions are 60 to 90 minute sessions, but it depends on the course. We tend to tailor make it for you depending on how well you can handle the language, whether you need more time in the course, how to work at it. We're fairly flexible on how we conduct sessions. Average session is about 60 to 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, depending on how fast you want to do it or slow you want to do it. But the number of classes you have, if you want to do a crash course, you can do a crash course. If you want to do it, taking the 8 to 10 classes and doing it properly into detail, then we do it. But depending on how well you manage the language, as well as how fast or how eager you want to get through this. So we provide tailor-made programs for you. If you are interested in going through this course with me, you can get in touch with me and we'll have a small evaluation and then decide what's the type of course you want to go for. So just to give you an idea of some of the results, how the scoring sheet looks like. This is one of our recent students who scored 90 marks. She did her exam in July. And if you look at this, you can see here that the 4 sections are scored separately, plus you get the enabling skills. So the grammar, all of that. So the advantage with PT is it really tells you exactly where you're scoring and exactly where you're not. So if you're not good with your pronunciation or if you're not good with your grammar, it will tell you this is the area you need to do well in or practice more in. So here's some of the testimonials from our website. If you go to our website and have a look, that has more information. Some of the students have been tailor-made packages, some husband and wife, some people who have sat IELTS many times. There are students who have sat IELTS 3 to 4 times. I had a student who did the IELTS 9 times. I don't know why on earth somebody would do IELTS 9 times, but PT is definitely easier in that sense to get the marks, right? So if you're not doing well in IELTS, or if you want to try your hand at this, this is the way to go about it. Right, so this is our contact details. You can take a screenshot of this. I'll just leave it on for a minute. School of PTE, you can have a look at our website and you can get in touch with us. My contact details are here as well. So if there's anything, feel free to ask me any questions or type it in the chat box. All right, I hope you got all the information. Thank you very much. And thank you, Anya. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Amila. That was really helpful to maybe most of us, because this is one of the most common problems that we have when coming to the migration aspect. All right, so coming towards the end of the session, I will be sharing our contact details with you. Just a moment. All right, so I'm sure you have a lot of questions and we had personal chat messages as well. We are trying to reply them all, but in case we are not able to answer your questions like today, these are our contact details. Please note them down. You can send us an email, or as you can simply give us a call on this number. Also, please send your CVs to this email address for a free eligibility assessment. Then we will let you know about your eligibility. All right, then it's time to wrap up after a long session. Thank you very much for your participation, dear attendees. I would like to thank all of you who joined today's session. I hope it was useful to you and hope you have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anya. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys, so much.